Priceless Farms is a model of a business that is extremely ethical in the sense that the practices and the technologies and the techniques that we deploy are increasing soil fertility over time, they're increasing biodiversity over time, they're producing abundant and considerably unlimited, based on the limits of the land, long-term food, fuels, and fibers for civilization. So when a student or an employee begins working on this farm, they start learning all of that. They start learning what it means not to step on garden beds and how to create pathways between the gardens so that the soils where they're growing their foods are not being compacted. They're learning about mulching so that when the sun comes out and there's not as much water coming from the sky, the soils are protected in and around the garden, and this is increasing the soil fertility and keeping the moisture in, thus extending your growing season. They're learning about how a forest works as a system of interconnected biological life forms, all codependent and cooperating with each other. And they begin to understand that they themselves as humans actually have this symbiotic relationship if they choose, or they can have a bad relationship in the sense that they could be doing bush burning and destroying the soils. They could be clearing the forests and not replacing the trees that they cut. So really what a student is learning when they come here is the right way to live. As far as I'm concerned, the right way to live would be to create a healthy, vibrant, socially conducive landscape that enables all people, irrespective of your religion and irrespective of your political sentiments, enables everyone to get along and harmonize first with nature and therefore with themselves. And I think one of my most favorite quotes, I think it was Bill Mollison who said that there can be no peace without sustainable land use ethics. And I think if you really take the time to consider that, you think about the world and where we are today with mass populations densifying into cities which are sucking the life, literally sucking the life out of the rural landscapes. If we don't transition and really look at the damaging impacts that we're having and then create a system that transitions us back into a sustainable methodology, we're looking at a very stark future. And so many tens of millions of people right now today are in this sort of refugee lifestyle, and tens of millions more will be in a refugee lifestyle if we don't start advancing these very practical, very, very, very much needed techniques and technologies. And they're very simple, and everybody can get this. It's just a matter of how do you contextualize it with regards to the landscape that you're in. And I think that's one of the key proponents of what I call the love on land system that I've developed over the 10 years that I've been focusing on this, is to really take the idea of cultural context and environmental context, meaning what biological region, what climatic region are you in, and how do you tailor the massive wealth of knowledge that sustainable design, like permaculture design, has to the student in their specific context, rather than just doing a sort of cookie cutter education. We know that there's primary things: water, pathways, structures, zone planning, sector planning. These types of concepts are primary and fundamental to permaculture design. So how do we get those through in such a way that the student immediately grasps them, immediately understands the relevance to their personal life? And I think it's a beautiful thing when you start to see that happen. And so that's the education that people are getting here. They're getting the most practical, most important knowledge, and they're getting the experience because it's a live, work, study environment. So they're getting that actual experience. And my belief is anybody who's able to graduate from that program and prove that they're an ethical and hardworking person, they're a great candidate for a farm manager, or at least to go on to another system whereby they can start up a new property, because they'll have learned all of those primary skills about what it takes to turn a damaged landscape or a new landscape into something that is truly beneficial for the world and for their communities.